let's talk a little bit about Captain Falcon and it being the lowest grossing Marvel movie to date. This is kind of interesting. So basically, there's this article in Variety here, and in it, they basically say the quiet part out loud, where it says, "At this rate, Captain America: Brave New World will wind up as one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies of all time.
Wow.
Above the flat out disasters of 2023's The Marvels and 2011's The Incredible Hulk, but in the realm of disappointments like 2021's Eternals and 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania." And if you guys remember, like, there's a lot of spin when this movie came out, where it was like, oh, it only cost $180 million and it's set to make $190 million worldwide, so it's going to break even right away and blah, blah, blah. And but what was kind of funny, and Brian, I know that you responded to my text about this the other day. Someone leaked it on Hulu for like a day.
Yeah.
and so like you could literally watch Captain America: Brave New World for free on Hulu if you're a subscriber, for like a day before they like took it down, realized their mistake. But
realized that it was still in theaters, right?
Yeah, that was still in theaters.
That's rough.
So trying to make his money back. But Odin, we have been quite critical about this movie and watching its financials like a hawk, no pun intended, or a falcon, I guess I should say, to kind of like guesstimate like what the actual budget is, like what the actual loss is, and now like the industry seems to be admitting that this movie did not do well. So what's your box office take on Captain Falcon Winter World, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I mean, to these people, I like to say, like, welcome to the party, pal. I mean, it's like, where you been? This has been very obviously a flop from the very beginning. And it honestly is amazing that these trades are still running with this clearly fake number of $180 million for the budget. And there's just so much evidence to point to that, Disney is notorious for letting these numbers leak to the trades that are completely off base. Like we just kind of, to recap, remember, whether it was the Marvels, whether it was really any of the films that they shot in the United Kingdom, all of those films, the report that came out about them was, oh, it cost $200 million or it cost $220 million, or like between that range of 200 and 250. And then when the tax returns inevitably came out, oh, turns out they were off by about 100 million at least every single time. And it's like,
what's
they actually
million
spent
between friends, bro?
Yeah, just 100 million, right?
No big deal.
It actually spent well over 300 million on all of those films that were shot in the UK, which means that any of the potential losses are now increased quite a bit. And also any of the potential profits are now either done away with completely or reduced by quite a bit as well. So when that 180 million came out, it's like, okay, you're arguing that this is the cheapest Marvel film that's ever been made, really, up in the modern era. And somehow that is true after all the delays and all of the reshoots and all these other things, which we know to be true, we know to have happened. So even if those things were not known, we would still know that Disney always overspends on their projects every single time. So you take that into account, and then you look at the box office, and yeah, this is going to be like bottom 3, bottom 4 box office for MCU of all time. And that's especially when you take into account how ticket prices have changed and the rate of inflation and things of that sort. And that's what drives me crazy, is that you have these other sites like Collider put out this whopper of an article the other day about how it's like, oh, it's actually about to pass up this other film from the MCU. It's actually going to be one of the highest grossing films in the history of the MCU. It's like, yeah, that's when you're comparing the domestic from films from over 10 years ago, which are actually valued a lot higher because the value of the dollar was a lot higher back then. And the fact that this movie is likely to not even beat the adjusted total for The Incredible Hulk of 2008 tells you how bad this movie is doing, right? That movie, when you adjust, was like a little over $400 million worldwide. This movie is going to struggle to get to 400 million. And if it even does get to that point, it's going to maybe barely cross it and maybe make a little bit of extra. But even then, I mean, this is a movie, because we know this film costs at least bare minimum $300 million to make. I mean, even with that number in there, this film currently sits at 275 million in losses, because they don't get 100% of those box office receipts. They have to also account for the marketing, which is usually about half your budget added on top of their budget. So, 300 million, that would be about 150 million for your marketing, right? It's typically what they would spend on that film anyway. So about a $450 million spend on this movie, and they're not making much anything on it. Yeah, this film is a massive catastrophic failure. And so the fact that anyone was running with a narrative that this was successful in any way, or that this film was going to do okay or fine, even on that lower budget, this film would still be a $50 million loss, even if you assume that $180 million number was correct, which is just complete nonsense.
Well, you guys
Don't
know what's not
sugarcoat it, Odin.
Yeah,
you guys know what isn't a catastrophic loss is Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge, who's finally finished eating his cereal long enough to join us, grace us with his presence. How you doing, Tom?
I don't watch no Reacher. It sounds gay. Like, it really sounds gay.
Call it Reach Around.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's what I'm
it
saying.
is.
That's the sequel series. Yeah.
That's the spinoff.
You're not even the individual who's getting the reach around. You're the reacher.
Yes, and Tom, if you would delight our viewers in turning your camera on when you talk today,
No,
that would
because
be
I'm a
fantastic.
fucking chode.
That would be fantastic because everyone wants to see.
I
your
have
beautiful
fat
face.
bald AIDS. Didn't you see X?
I did not see X. No.
Oh, Jesus.
But fat bald AIDS for $1 a month in super chats. You too can fight this terrible, terrible disease.
That's what I saw. Fat bald AIDS. Okay.
Fat bald AIDS. Yeah.
No wonder he turns his camera off all the time. Jesus Christ. You can't be worse, uglier than me, dude. I mean, come on. Look at this specimen of beauty right here. And I'm strapped in muscles. I'm the best looking guy on the panel.
He's strapping.
Easily.
Well,
yes.
I'd like to hear Tom's take on Captain Falcon, Winter World Soldier, Eternal Person,
Brave.
Eternal Soldier.
Brave. Yeah.
Well, what I thought was funny is that it leaked online like a week and a half ago or so. Like, it's been out forever. And the fact that it accidentally got dropped on Hulu. What the fuck?
Yeah. What do you have to say about it being one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies ever, considering how much money they pumped into this thing?
I mean, was anybody here expecting it to do really well?
I was expecting it to be $1 billion movie.
I just want to know,
I'm kidding.
was he ever able to get his loan? That's the only thing I want to know.
Yeah. Poor bastard.
No.
Wasn't
he has
able
to
to get
pay
a
for a
loan.
bunch of damage in this movie. And this is why he can't get a loan.
They're like, we can't insure you. You've
Your
done
box
trillions of
office
dollars
sucks.
worth of damage, sir.
Your box
he blew-
office sucks.
He blew up like 3 fighter jets while he was like in that movie or something like that.
You know how much you cost us? You're not getting a loan. You need a job.
Yeah, it'd be funny if they filmed like a fake commercial of Anthony Mackie endorsing like some type of credit, like Start credit card or something like that, because that's the only way he can pay his bills.
No,
Or
I
like
mean,
reverse mortgages.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
too
reverse
can get a
mortgage.
reverse mortgage.
I mean, I wasn't going to be surprised if this made even $300 million, because there's no interest in it, none. And I mean, as far as like, we all knew it was never going to be profitable, and that's why I laughed along with Odin and many others when we're like, okay, we'll play your little game, and we'll go with the 80 million or whatever it is you claim you spent on this thing. Sure, we'll go with that and see how this still plays out and works out for you. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out, because it didn't. We all knew it was going to land somewhere between the Marvels and Ant-Man. I think Odin and I and everybody else and their mother was saying that. But I even thought it might not do that well, just because Brie Larson is technically a bigger star than Anthony Mackie at the end of the day. So,
Yeah,
Is anybody
I took my
surprised?
wife to see it, and you know what she asked me? She said, "Where was Captain America?" I'm not joking. She watched the entire movie and then asked me why Captain America wasn't in the movie.
Well, Smitty, what kind of surprises me about Captain America: Brave New World is that basically the audience is required to have watched the TV show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, in order to know anything about what's going on in this movie. And then this movie was staged to be like the launch of the next big phase of Marvel. Like they're leading up to like the new Avengers and all this other stuff. And they're also tying up loose ends from like the old Hulk movie that nobody really cares about anymore. And I know that you did a really fantastic review of this movie on your channel. So what's your take on Marvel's strategy here about, having this big blockbuster movie that is meant to lead into greater things, but people have to have watched like a 6-hour homework assignment before they can understand what's going on. And they also have to have watched the old Hulk movie to know what's going on. Like, what's your take on that?
So I think you hit it on the head. I think there are a lot of things at play here, all of them terrible. You try to connect it to a movie from way back in the day, but you have to. What's going on with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk? I mean, was that involved with this? And then the girlfriend from back, like, there's just so much going on here, and people in their brain are trying to connect the dots. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. Okay, I don't see Anthony Mackie as Captain America. It's not working for me. Okay, I know that it's comic accurate. I know that's what happens. When I see Anthony Mackie,
Mackety
Daddy.
That's gonna
he's
stick.
just not Captain America to me. I don't see that. He's like someone completely different wearing Captain America's suit. The movie didn't make any sense whatsoever. I sat there and watched that whole thing, and it ended with a Stern talking to. Nobody got dead. Nothing.
Yeah, no
watched
one
all
died.
this just for a don't do it again kind of thing. And then put him in jail. I just none of it is none of it is just connecting with me. There's no seriousness to it, no stakes. No one's dying. We'll just put him in jail till later. We bring him back in a later film.
Yeah, you can't kill off Harrison Ford. You need that actor.
Yeah, I just
Harrison Ford might not make it. Okay,
might not make it. Yeah.
I just noticed something, kind of looking over these things. I remember, I'm gonna set this up real quick. I remember when I was a little kid, I was, a little bit of a normie, but not really. When I was waiting for Star Wars movies to come out, remember the wait between episode 1 and episode 4 and 5 and 5. It was 3 years, and those 3 years between those movies felt like an absolute eternity when you're a kid, when you're 13, 12 years old. And I just looked at this, right? Falcon the Winter Soldier, which is required viewing for this movie, as far as I'm concerned, and everything that was set up before this movie, that was 4 years ago. The Falcon the Winter Soldier, that terrible TV show, came out in March of 2021. Who's going to take the time to go back and rewatch that after we didn't really want to watch it 4 years ago? Right. To set up a movie that nobody cares about because Captain America really isn't in it. It's I don't understand their strategy behind this movie at all. It makes
that's the problem. Sense. My wife doesn't know anything about any of the politics or anything like that, but she also is not watching the TV shows. She likes Marvel movies, but she likes Marvel movies. So she had no idea what happened with Bucky or that whatever happened in that TV series. And she knew that Steve Rogers was gone, but she didn't know that he automatically became Captain America. She was like, why did that work? She asked the question, why wasn't Bucky Captain America? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know.
And the other part is this movie is like finishing up, I guess, or whatever. Maybe it's starting, but I think it's kind of finishing up this last phase of the really MCU phase 4 or whatever it was. The MCU phase of Marvel movies. And I think they just want to get this movie out and done with so they can just start up the next phase of Marvel movies, So perhaps. I mean, they couldn't just sit on it. They had to do something with it, but I don't know. I hope they're learning their lesson and they start making some actually entertaining movies going forward. I'm not counting on it, but we'll see, I guess.
Well, Brian, are you at all surprised that this is one of the lowest grossing Marvel movies?
Yeah, I am a little surprised. I expected it to do better, not because it was going to be a better movie, but because it was marketed so heavily. Plus, it has a Hulk in it. Harrison Ford. I did expect it to do better than the Eternals and.
Hey, maybe. This is a little bit of a spoilery question, but I don't really care at this point. Is it true that Red Hulk is only in it for like 5 minutes of the entire thing?
5 to 15.
Not even that.
Not even that.
No, he feels like he's in it a lot.
Not really. It's not very much.
It's a big.
You guys got to remember this movie's shorter than most Marvel movies.
Maybe you're right, but it is a big ending. Like, I expected it to be much less time.
It's not even as elaborate as the Hulk fight at the end of the first Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I would say the sequence is longer, but that doesn't mean that Red Hulk, is actually on the screen during the entirety of that sequence.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
and the other thing is you guys are saying like that it wraps up stuff from the old Incredible Hulk movie.
It does.
I don't even consider those part of the MCU.
No, and that's the problem. Most people don't, and I'm sorry, but Liz Taylor doesn't even look the same anymore. Like, so I didn't even recognize her right away. It's crazy. And there's a different person playing the general.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not sure
Yes.
why you would want to connect these things when the two characters that would remind you of that movie, one has aged way beyond that movie, and the other one is a completely different person.
Yeah.
I'm not
Also,
sure. I mean, I like the idea of doing something with that movie because I did like that movie, but like this did not work.
Also, at the end of that movie, it was Iron Man that came into the bar and talked to the general about starting the Avengers initiative. So, so you just have to pick and choose, I guess, whatever you want to follow.
I mean, yeah. So I guess technically it is part of that movie because there was an end credit scene with Thunderbolt Ross, but most people didn't even see that. Like, it just didn't work. It's a different person playing the character. It's a different person playing the character. I've watched that movie several times, and it took me a second to connect everything. I don't know.
I didn't even know the president was him until halfway through the movie.
Halfway through the movie, that's when I was like, "Oh, what? Why do that?"
Yeah, and I'd be surprised if anyone knew who like the original Black Captain America guy was, if they hadn't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier. And also, if you hadn't seen the Eternals, you didn't know about like the big hand coming up out of the top planet.
And a lot of people didn't see Watch the Eternals. And I'm sorry, can I add one more thing? They should have. There should have been a sequence in there where you showed him denying the serum, because it wasn't they would mention it briefly, but they didn't make it clear. And a lot of people were like, "Why doesn't he have superpowers?" They should have had more in that movie about him saying why he didn't want it, because there was really no reason as to not take the serum. Just there was no reason for it. And it sets up the whole movie. The whole time now you're like, that would have killed him. Nope, that would have killed him. Oh shit, that would have killed him. That would have killed him. He died like 47 times in that movie.
Yeah. Did he just stab a missile with his wing and live?
Bro? And they didn't make it clear where he got the wings, why they're kinetic. Everything is just like exposition. Like, you got to show the audience, dude.
Everything about the entirety of the movie is to build up to the one line that they want everyone to try to remember by the end of the movie, which is Steve Rogers was someone that you could look up to, but you are one that you can aspire to, right? The one that the Bucky line at the very end. It's like, you should be someone that we aspire to, whereas Steve Rogers is the one that to look up to. And it's like, I understand what you're trying to do with that, but it just does not work with what Captain America actually does and needs to be able to do.
Yeah, and also I think to Smitty's point, that's one of the reasons why people aren't resonating with Anthony Mackie as Captain America, is because he's basically like Iron Man. He's more Iron Man than Captain America. Like Captain America was a super soldier. Like, he was meant to be like the perfect specimen of what American men are meant to be. And with this one, it's just like, you basically got an Iron Man suit that makes you fly and can cut through metal and stuff like that. It doesn't ring true. I believe Smitty didn't in your review. You basically said, Captain America had a shield. Like, that was it.
Yeah, he gets it out. He got it out the mud. He just had the strength. He didn't have all these gadgets and that stupid Robin or whatever that thing is on his back. He was just strong, and he was coming to get you with that shield. That's it. So I think that's the difference between them.
But also, as you pointed out in your review, like, there's that scene in Endgame where basically Captain America is the last one standing. Thanos and his entire army are basically marching towards him. He straps that shield on and he just stands there and he's ready to take on like an entire army by himself if need be, simply because like it's the morally right thing to do.
Right.
And we've yet to see anything like that from Anthony Mackie's character. Like he's had a lot of like lectures and a lot of moralizing and stuff like that, but his actions haven't really shown that, in my opinion. And also, wasn't there something about making the Winter Soldier like a congressman in this movie? Like, didn't he?
Yes.
The Congress?
Yeah, for that 5-minute thing where he's like, I'm sorry. There shouldn't have been any Bucky in this movie. Like, if you're not gonna have him help in some way as the only other superhero we know, like, don't even have him in the movie. Doesn't make any sense.
I know a lot of people are still upset that Bucky isn't Captain America, because at least then we could kind of see like, okay, I don't feel like I'm worthy to like, use this shield and like to step into the footsteps of my best friend and stuff like that, especially after all the evil stuff I was forced to do, in the preceding decade or like whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like that would have been a much more interesting kind of like internal struggle to watch, other than what Anthony Mackie goes through. But
doesn't he get it though? Eventually, I think.
In the comic books, I think he does.
In the comic books, he does.
But who knows?
Not sure why he didn't do it in here. Doesn't make any sense. He should have just taken the serum. It would have fixed so many problems.
It really would have.
It would have fixed so many problems and would have been way more interesting. I'm not sure where like the virtual signaling here is. What is so wrong with taking the serum that has no side effects and helps you actually do your job as Captain America?
Because that's
also
the connection.
But with the rules that they established in Falcon and Winter Soldier, with that temporary, basically, like I forget what compound it's called, but it basically turns you into a super soldier like for a short period of time, right? So like, let's say Anthony Mackie used that, but then like he runs out of it at a crucial point and he has to just rely on himself to save the day. Like, that would have been kind of like an interesting arc, I guess. But as it stands right now, it's like the minute the Hulk punches that shield, like every bone in his body would break. Every
what if he's like, I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it. And his whole thing. But then you have a raging, rampaging Red Hulk. And he's like, F it. Give me the serum. Okay. I can see that. Here we go. I'm sacrificing something I think for the greater good. Okay.
Where are the other Avengers and superheroes?
Yeah, where's everyone? I don't.
Where's Thor? I mean, come on. It's like,
I know, right?
Thor is in space somewhere.
Can't he get on his like Avengers watch and go, hey guys, we got some issues here. Even if it's like those Russian superheroes that got the movie coming out, somebody's got to come in and help him.
Well, there's actually a superhero in this movie that shows up and talks to him and knows what's going on, and then decides you're good. You got it, buddy.
Where's the West Coast Avengers? Where's She-Hulk?
Well, I mean, first of all, where's Bucky? Second of all, where's the Hulk? As far as I know,
literally was in the movie.
We've reached a point in the MCU where there should never be a lack of a superhero or multiples in any part of the world if something crazy is going down, right?
Right, and if there is, you have to explain why.
Where's the Eternals at? Where, are they still trying to dig out the giant celestial out of the Indian Ocean or whatever is going on? Or I don't know.
Actually,
Where is everybody else?
Oh, can I say one good thing about this movie? Because we've been shitting on it.
Sure, go ahead.
I like that they're using the Eternals kerfuffle to, at least for some good, because they're going to introduce adamantium. That's cool.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like that. It makes the Eternals actually important.
Is
when
there
in reality,
is there like a 5-minute clip that you can like show me out of the movie that will just explain what's going on?
Basically,
so
in the Eternals, one of the characters uses her transmutation powers to transmutate the celestial that is bursting out of the planet. By the way, that would have destroyed everything right away.
Everything in the whole
But
world.
it's bursting out, everything in the world. But it's bursting out of the center of the planet, and she uses all of her power, which is God level power, to literally turn the celestial into metal. And at the time they didn't explain what that metal was. In this movie they say it's this new metal called adamantium. Adamantium being what they coat Wolverine's skeleton with, right? Which is rad. Well, so now in some way Eternals is important. In another way Eternals is important, and another way Eternals is important is it actually explains the motivations of Thanos. I did not like the movie Eternals, but I liked that it explained the motivations of Thanos better, to the point where it made Thanos a better villain, where it's almost like he thought he was the good guy trying to save all these planets or the universe from these celestials that were bursting out of the planets. So that's a good thing. And I like the fact that they introduced adamantium. That's a cool thing. And at least they used the crappy movie Eternals to do both those things. So I'll take that.